telling me to stream sideways. I'm like, okay then, I'm trying. The camera's a bit dirty. Anywho, I thought I'd give you a bit of a look at the garden. Got this beautiful ambience. I'm being naughty. I'm waiting for a few people to connect because it's a late night and everyone's a bit moody. So how are we all doing? Probably no one's going to pop on, but we'll see. I'm outside. It's cold. I might have to go to the other side because I've got the lights streaming down on me. So I wanted to have a little bit of a chat about the current energy. It's late at the moment. It's not too late, but I have had synchronistic energies coming through with the zodiac signs, with the collective, and also with my clientele. And it has almost been this very distorted time, I think, that we're all going through. Hi, beautiful. I'm probably in really bad light here, so I might actually go to the other side because I've been getting these channel downloads and like I can't sleep, so I'm like, okay, come live, let's go live and let's have a chat. And I think it's overdue, really. Obviously, because I have been on YouTube for a long time and because I've been on the twin flame path for bloody knows how long. I know how hard it is, but also because I do channel. And I'm a Libra and we're going through Mercury retrograde. This is a very, very heavy time. So there's a lot of us that, we're trying to get the tools, we're trying to know how to move through this ascension path, but also how to directly cope with separation, how to look at the perspective, how to feel about the situation. And it can at the moment feel very disillusioning, so to speak. So with some of my clients, they are gaining great success because they're having the courage to be disliked and because they're having the courage to actually challenge the wound and move beyond it, which I can say the path is a very testing one. It's one of those ones that does have a lot of soul clearing. My readings really aren't based around the romanticized aspect of things purely because of the journey that I've been on. And because I did know that when I was going through that, I wanted the tools and I wanted to be able to reach closure with myself. And a lot of the twin flame path and part of the awakening is directly connected to the inner work. As much as we don't like to look at the inner work, and sometimes we can be looking under our armpits and going, what have we not healed? A lot of it is just really releasing. It sounds crazy, but it's releasing and it's being at pure peace with where you are in order to attract that back to you. It's quite strange because at the moment I do feel where a lot of the feminines are, we are going through a portal. And this portal is very, very temporary. So please don't think that this is going to be a permanent thing. It's a very yucky thing, I will say. Even for me in union, it is a very yucky feeling, so to speak. So who have we got in the house? We've got Big Casino. How has your vibration been, Dale? YouTube's launched some new things now for the members, that if you're members for longer than 2 months, that you actually get, highlighted in the chat, which is great. They're honouring the members as per se. Do we have any questions? Do we have any triggers that we're going through? Ups and downs, yeah, it is pretty heavy at the moment. I had the channeling I have been doing, which I wanted to come to you guys live, was because when I have been channeling Divine Masculine, hi Adam, the one thing I have been seeing, how would I break it down and sum it up? I have been seeing through their emotions that they're extremely panicked at the minute. So the panic frequency coming through, some of you may start channeling it. And the panicked energy is almost like something is sitting on their chest. It's almost to the point they physically within their spirituality feel they're running out of time, and they do feel extremely anxious. And it did take me back to an aspect of the journey I was on, almost where everything around them that they knew was peeling away. And with that peeling away, it can feel very frightening. It's almost like where they are. Yeah, where they are, how do I explain it? The channelings I've been having is almost like when, that environment that you've been really familiar in, it suddenly is the prison. So the vibration that has been coming through is really where they're physically feeling panicked by that of what they used to be very used to. So it's almost like what they ran towards before is where they're feeling completely trapped and imprisoned at the moment. So it is actually freeing them, so to speak. It's actually it's putting a lot of pressure on them. This can be a job, this could be a relationship, it could be a way of being. They're also having a lot of synchronicities, and this is a very strange channeling. Um, I'm seeing that they're having a lot of psychic downloads. I'm also seeing that they're almost hearing your name in their head over and over again. Um, and it's almost like they're micromanaging themselves not to directly communicate with you at the moment because they're actually not psychologically well enough at this point, in the week. I'm not feeling it's going to remain that way. I feel it's quite a push. There's a lot of heart chakra that's directly being activated, but I do also feel whatever that blockage was, be it it's a direct person or be it it's a location, it's almost like they're having to move beyond the wound. The funny thing is, they're as frightened as you as they are directly off the karmic path at this point, but it's only temporary. It's because that pressure cooker is really pushing them. So if you can potentially, in your interactions with them, my suggestion would be, and that's totally up to you how you guide yourself through this, it's only because I've been channeling these messages, that if you are directly getting communication in the next week to 2 weeks, do not take what they're saying personal, okay? Because when their vibration is like this, you're better off to be in the listening air phase than directly taking everything that is said at this point as gospel. There's a lot of sacral chakra, and it's very triggered, so to speak, but it's panicky. It's panicky because they're about to make a major decision. Hi, Leonix. Yeah, they're about to make a major decision, but it's very panicky. Some of you can be picking up on it yourself, but some of you, the feminines, do feel very disillusioned. So at the moment, the collective, especially those of you on the channel, it's almost like you're ready to quit. The quitting energy isn't really, and it's not about twin flame path. Let me put it this way. It's part of the healing. That's what I'm talking about right now. So from a soul healing level in this journey, um, divine feminine is feeling very disillusioned. Almost like, because you are purging an old cycle, it's natural for that space to occur. I potentially would say it's more with the first waivers. The second waivers are going through a different turn, but it's more to do with attachment. With the first waivers, what I'm seeing, it is you're having to confront a lot of inner child at the moment and abandonment, but it's all that for some of you there can be resentment coming up and just pure detachment, but it's almost like psychically they're connecting in with you, so it's preventing that attachment at this point. So you've got to be careful as the energy comes in. How have you all been? Good morning. It's cold. It's so bloody cold. Yeah, it's hard, guys, because look, Mercury's in Libra, so our minds are thinking a lot, and it's brain fry. You know, you're really tired. You're feeling there's a lot of self-criticizing coming through. It can be the way you look. It can be the way you feel. 1 minute very high vibe, the next minute down. So you're trying to move beyond it, but it's really quite fatiguing. So as the planets do start going direct, I do think things are going to really start bouncing off. But again, with your perspectives of the stories you're telling yourself, it's something that we really need to look at so it doesn't continually trigger us. And it was funny because I jumped onto Instagram this evening. Hi, Sweet. And I did notice that a fellow YouTuber who, I've forgotten her name now, let me think. And it's only because Mercury's in my bloody head at the moment, so my head's all everywhere. What's her name? It'll come to me. But she made a post. I'll mention her name in a moment. It'll come to me. Um, and it was to do with the healing, and a lot of times when we heal, sometimes we can say we're doing the work, the other person's not doing the work. And really, look, ultimately speaking, do we want to live permanently with a wound inside us? So whenever you do get into that mind frame, just say to yourself, well, you don't want to live like this forever. So yes, of course, you're investing in yourself, and that investment is going to reap rewards, and you will feel very different at the other side of it. The other energy that you will be getting is, there can be, again, I did mention to you guys, especially in the twin flame videos, I did the chakra report inside it because I was seeing so much imbalances coming through within the joint connection. But that's because there's going to be major movement. As I mentioned, when Jupiter starts, when it's moving direct, which is going to be the 18th, it's almost, that's really the portal I'm seeing, is moving towards the week leading up until the 18th. We have Mercury going direct and we have Jupiter going direct, and I really feel it's already kicking off now. There can be a bit of distortion initially, but things can move extremely fast. Now, it's not just within the spiritual connection, it's also purpose, very purpose and orientation, almost like, okay, what are we going to do? How do we reach that success? How do we become more formatted in our life? But the critique, as I mentioned, is coming through almost like we're judging ourselves at the minute. That can be based on success, process, balance, appearance, who's better, comparison. So we've got to be so very careful at the moment with that Mercury energy. But it can be a really great time at the moment if we're actually becoming practical with it and really shifting that focus into something productive. And it can be testing things out, trialing a diet, trialing a routine, rest and recuperation, co-creativity, heart-centered energy, but really looking after your well-being. Health has been coming up quite a bit because we do have Aries and Chiron retrograde, and we've got Mercury retrograde in the Venus sign. So feminine's health is extremely important, especially the mind, body, soul. If you can do such and just make it through past this Mercury retrograde, it's going to be a lot. I can't say it's going to be 100% better, but certain circumstances can become very busy, and it is going to be moving very quickly towards the end of the year. So what we're seeing right now, it's a lot of energy coming towards us. As we move towards the 18th, things are going to move even faster because we'll have Jupiter direct, we'll have Saturn's direct today, so things are going to be moving. Sometimes we can listen to an astrologer or read a post and they're saying, hey, once this goes direct, it's going to be great. And it's great every time. It's just the process in which you come to it with. This is a very fatiguing time, so it's natural that you're going to kind of feel that way. Things moving fast with family. You were right on our booking. Yeah. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, it is astrologically based. And, no matter what, like for Leos, for instance, you're either going to be having something transforming in your family. There's going to be a lot of lineage coming up. Saturn's really hitting your Venus house. So for a lot of you with your work domain, with your love life, you've been having all those ups and downs going on around that because there's been so long of a retrograde. So it would have been old emotions, really retracking over old ground. Very, very emotional time for Leos during that transit. As things go direct, you can actually almost feel this pressure cooker that you want everything here right now. You want to move forward. They will move forward, but it can happen so quickly, almost you're going to have to catch your breath. So we do need to be quite cautious. There has been, ironically enough, a lot to do with younger generation coming up. And I'm still trying to think on what that's based on. It can be because Libra is the co-creative energy. So when we are seeing tribe and family and the younger generation, potentially it can be due to that. I had a friend tell me about an application for apartment. Oh, so are you still moving with family, or are you thinking of going down a different route? That's the thing with Mercury retrograde. 1 minute we'll feel we're going another way. That's why I'm being quite mindful with what I'm doing on YouTube at the moment. I have had a lot going on. I've had health related, which I'm ticking boxes and I'm moving through. You know, we have an inspection for the home, which is occurring tomorrow. So it's been very busy. I'm getting everything done. The computer wasn't uploading fast enough, so I had to plug it into the bloody modem. So the other element is there, and I'm getting on to the next set as well as the clientele videos as well. But yes, I've had a lot of feedback. I am going to add another feedback form onto the website. So those of you who have readings with me regularly, a lot of you have been coming back to me and confirming a lot of the readings have been coming through. You know, that way, if you're happy to, I used to have a section on the website for disclaimers and you can put up, you know, what happened. I have had a lot of feedback this week to do with a lot of the readings, and it's really been confirmations of the channelings as well that have actually come through. Yes, I did. I had a fellow subscriber who said, "Did you mention it on YouTube, Yildiz?" I said to her, "Look out. Look out. The person wants hanky panky." And sure enough, she was like, "Yildiz." No clue. That's why I made another booking. Yes, wait. Well, it's within your power. It's up to you. You know the hardest thing? And this is one thing on our journey. Don't live in the potential of what could come. And this is the biggest key, especially in Twin Flame Path. Live where you are spiritually, not where you think you might be next week. Do you know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, oh, am I living with twin? Am I not? Am I living with family? Am I not? Um, Again, if it's work related and that's been something that's coming up, that's what Saturn's going to ask you to do. These things are blocking you in your path, and these landmines that are coming up psychologically and 3D wise, especially with Saturn going direct, you know, everyone's excited, and I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. These could be some things suddenly going, hey, you got to get in and actually address some of these things. This is the way I'm psychically seeing it. We can have some bumps on the road, but it may be if we visually know where those bumps are and we don't address it, they're going to keep coming up and they're going to get harder and harder. And then it becomes very similar to where we were as feminines initially, putting ourselves back in these spiritual prisons and being stuck. And that's why we do the work on ourselves. So we have that freedom of movement. We have that element of control. I would suggest balancing out the sacral chakra, and that can give you your power back, but place it into your life, not onto the projection energy. Because when the sacral chakra is overactive, we can get really aggressive and we can project. Whatever we project out, we need to say to ourselves and go, okay, this is how I'm feeling. And this is one thing I've been practicing probably for the last week, and it has been to name the wound. And I really highly advise it because it's really helped me listen to myself this week. So when I have a feeling and I'm feeling negative towards myself or towards a situation or a person, I then say, okay, why is that coming up for you? And I name the word of what the feeling and the vibration is. So it's like I feel, how do I give you an example? It can be you say to yourself, I don't feel successful, or I feel afraid, or I feel angry at myself, you know, whatever it is, but just to hear yourself say it. So you're tagging it, you're naming it, you're addressing it, and then you're actually giving yourself the time of day so you can actually mull through those problems, so to speak. And Adam's good at this. But yeah, that's a very practical way to start working through those demons so that they're not really sabotaging you and taking you into a spiral. And a lot of times it can be because we are really fatigued. And, you know, fatigue at the moment it's big. So where are we all in the world? We've got lots of weather patterns popping off at the moment. I would say it's more than likely because the planet's going direct. Once Jupiter does go direct, we can see more extremities. I'm speaking in code, but it's part of the cycles. It's cold. That isn't triggering you. I let masculine know, but yeah, but remember, come back to the reality of the reason why you're moving. If the tribe is seeing child, that can become part of the equation. And again, we don't want to run, right? We're not running. We're choosing something that is going to work for you. So choose something that will work for you, that will fit in with your career and your family and the proximity. So just, not turning it into a I need to get away from you, turning it into what is that abode going to be like? How will that feel? And then you're manifesting at that high octane. You're actually looking at it and not becoming, it then doesn't become a block for you because, with all of these transits at the moment, it's almost like things are going to start moving really quickly. And even if, and this is what the masculines are going through at the moment, any spiritual avoidance we have coming up, regardless of whether we like it or not, these things are coming towards us to be addressed. And as we move forward through these retrogrades and they start moving direct, that's when we're going to have to have time to implement them even further. But you get my gist. Yes. I think over the years I've just accepted it's futile. So when I say futile, it's avoidance is only temporary. For it's futile. It ends up inevitably having to be addressed, whatever those emotions are. Joy of bloody emotions. And again, when we're talking in layman's terms, this is another thing I highly recommend is sometimes when we're going through an emotion, we directly can state potentially what the other party is feeling. And I just made it an absolute rule of thumb in my twin flame path that unless it came from the horse's mouth, it was a fallacy. It was a wound. It was a fear. It was not a reality. The language of love does come through in unique ways. Just because we don't see it in a fashion that we understand, 9 times out of 10, it's a little bit like when we are going through that separation or that choppy communication. It can be almost like both parties are really afraid and on protective mode, and we need to lower that guard in order to have that success. And the only way really we can do that is by working on our feelings and then being able to articulate it effectively. And you can even say to the person, I assumed X, Y, and Z. That's how you felt, but I don't know because I'm not you. Do you know what I mean? And then you're not putting words in that person's mouth, or you're not surmising and basing. And we've had to over the years. And that's one thing in the early stages of twin flame path, that it's almost like we were directly assuming and having to guess because the communication wasn't there. But when we divorce that factor as a job, the cause and effect is you're making a different cake, and that person physically would need to communicate that information to you. Otherwise, you just won't physically look at it. You're like, look, I'm not even going to guess. I'm not even going to, surmise unless this comes from your mouth. I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying? So you're training another energy to directly learn how to communicate with you. You're pretty much taking the reins of the chariot and you're going, okay, this is what will and what won't work with me. And that's the healthy boundary, and that's divine feminines and divine masculines' physical, spiritual power is saying yes and no, especially in the separation. I generally recommend that the intimate connection, unless the movement is flowing and the communication is flowing, that you actually hold that back. You get that key and you throw that key away until that flow is ready. Now, if you do intercept and have romantic liaisons, you have to be ascended enough that that isn't going to affect you and you're not going to spiral into psychoanalyzing. And if you are, You're negotiating with the devil. It's like, do not do that to yourself, because it doesn't break a pattern. No, nothing is ever assured, but you're trying to shift that connection from a physical connection to both a physical and a spiritual connection where it's both joined. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it can complicate it. We about Perth. Yeah, well, I usually get hay fever generally when it's going to rain. It's like, the sinuses will go. And sometimes wonder if, number one, I'd always say, when a person is communicating in a certain fashion, mirror it. When the communication is choppy, are you both trying to prove a point? Okay. So, hi, Jan. I'll have to ask you about the tiger. I saw your video. I haven't gone to watch it. Is it in English? Have you done it yet? I'll so watch your videos. You know I will. Yeah, so it depends on the situation. I'll have to go look. I have a very choppy communication. I sometimes wonder if it's even worth talking to him at all. I feel good that I've conquered the reactivity. Yeah. So with the choppy communication, in what sense do you find that the person at the moment spiritually is up and down, and so it's difficult? Yeah, it's kind of like it flows a bit better. Yeah. Yeah, well, I have noticed. Look, the thing is, with all the content that I am going to be bringing to you guys, I've really seen the tools are going to be absolutely necessary. It's a bit messy, though. Oh, whatever, Jan. I don't believe you. Your English is beautiful, Dale. I would love to watch your video regardless. I've seen these beautiful apps most recently that actually do change the actual language on it, so it can have the subtitles, and it can have the dialogue directly written below. It is an app that you have to pay for, but it is something I'm looking at, and that's so language barriers with different cultures maybe can actually still view that video. It's I think you'll all find that once you can get to the point, and this has been something that I've used regularly. You literally have to come to a point where you are willing to lose it all, because you can't. The thing is, we move through these processes of healing, and when you go through a certain process, you do spiritually get to the point. The reason why you're fighting with yourself is because you acknowledge that you actually want so much more. Your fear is you can't have so much more. But the reality is what you were getting is not what you want anymore. So it's about reaching acceptance and saying and naming it. I actually want and need more, and that's okay. Your fear is that person potentially, due to attachment, won't be able to achieve such. And again, because I do work on the spiritual realm, it's both spiritual and psychological. The energy's joint, it's manifestation, and it's also an element of fear and pain, which is control. So you physically need to know that whatever you're going to be, the work you do on yourself, everything that was out of balance in your life that maybe you thought another person could come save us, we all have it, we've all done it. Getting to a point, you're leveling up. You're like, okay, if you hate your job, snitch your job, go get something. Go do something about it. Put those resumes out. Make that work. Stop living in pain. Acknowledge and accept that of what you hear inside yourself. If you have a friend who is having unhealthy boundaries, maybe at a time they came towards you, they were being supportive. Get to a point you say, look, I've got this in the bag. I have this. Thank you. I appreciate it. Because we do go through these, victim consciousness, perpetrator. And so these patterns we're directly breaking with individuals. But as you look at everything that you directly need to sort inside your life and you start ticking those boxes, you have purpose. All that energy we were 48 hours, 7 days a week, 20 something days a month, you know, it's just, it is spiritual because, yes, when you get to the end stage of it, the psychic attacks are ridiculous. But it is because you're moving into that mastery, that mind mastery, the psychic development. In the early stages, it's obsessive, it's like an addiction. This separate section of it is very much you're breaking patterns. The next section of it is the psychic attacks after the dark night of the soul, and it's really, really, um, it's quite full on. I cannot explain. It's quite full on. Once you can master that and you physically say to yourself, I have my life in the bag, I don't wish that human being any harm. I hope they're happy whatever they're doing. As long as my ascension symptoms stop, I'm good. I'm just going to keep working on it. And I even said to myself one day, it was like, if this takes me the rest of my life for my healing, I'm invested in that because I can't expect anyone else to invest in me if I don't invest in me. So I took the pressure off the healing process. And just each day anything came up, I'd look at it and I'd release, and then I'd do positive things. I'd shift my energy into something that I needed to do. And the more you move into detachment, which is physical closure, that's what detachment means. Reach closure with your demons. Once you can do that and you can be at peace and just be not defined by it, ready to risk it all, ready to lose it all. Like, you don't need it. You don't. There's psychic connections there. There's spiritual connections there. It doesn't mean to say because you are not being intimate with them, because you're not living with them, because somebody else has them, that there's not love. No, there's love in all things. There's definitely love, a deep love in the twin flame connection. But it's about loving that person without attachment and loving yourself without that. And once you can do that, you're directly just going to naturally attract it. And the funny thing was, most of those times I started doing that, it was ins and outs, and I noticed that pattern, so I started working on it. Sometimes when I am reading and I'm channeling messages and there's the super chats in the house, I can always pick up on the person's vibration if they feel resent towards the answer. And that's generally because they have an attachment. Sometimes we can go through victim consciousness, and look, it's perfectly normal, no shade whatsoever, because I've been there myself. You feel angry, you feel resent, we go into the victim consciousness. And then other times it's just purely missing that person, feeling very disillusioned. Just honor the fact that you're a human being and it is natural to feel that, 100%. How you doing, Olsen? Have you been hitting the chocolates? I've been trying to get rid of chocolates, to be quite honest. Between me iron deficiency, I'm trying to level up my health, but trying to lose weight with an iron deficiency is freaking impossible. So yeah, I'm having the tests come this week. Hi. So has anything hit anyone in here that makes sense? Another thing, you will find that when it's going to come in, you'll attract another twin flame. KKK. Hey, we said we were on this healthy journey together. You are on a healthy journey together. Healing is a healthy journey. Yeah. Healing is crappy, but guess what? On the other side of it, gee, you feel good. Yeah, I agree, Olsen. 100%. For Libras, it's the 5th house. I tell you, I'm trying to level up. I've actually, for those of you that are Leos, yeah, my Saturn is Leo, so I'm like, heck. Do you mean one would attract someone else's twin? Yes, you generally do, but it's there because you physically, usually when you attract another twin, they're not your twin. They generally appear to have their life together, but upon further observation, you realize they're further back. And the thing is, sometimes it's because you have felt so disillusioned by your healing, you're actually asking Gaia to bring you in someone who is like them, but maybe, that you have chemistry or a connection with. Bring me somebody else. I could really highly advise not to place that out there. I did that, and that was extra journey. That was extra BS. Did I do that? Yes, I did. Can it be a friend, not a romantic partner? It can be, but it's only there so that you can view and reach peace relating to your masculine, so you cannot maybe judge them as hard, so you can see actually how far they have come compared to where that other energy was, because initially that person will look as though they are fantastic, they got their shit together, and then upon further observation you're like, man, you're where that person was 20 years ago. Hell to the no. There's a guy I'm really close with. Yeah, and that's another thing, guys. I'll be honest with you. When you're healing, if you still are thinking of your twin and you do directly connect them with another person, the funny thing is sometimes you can be saying, oh, my twin's with someone, but, I'm single. But technically, if you're talking to someone and you're having romantic feelings for them, and or you're actually tuning into maybe a past connection and you still haven't healed, that's the energy, okay? So generally speaking, if the feminine is single and the masculine has a karmic, you either have an attachment relating to abandonment, or you are healing directly over them or another individual. And sometimes it can even be that you are entertaining another individual, and that's where the blockage is. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So during Mercury retrograde, you won't just hear from, yes, you can hear from twin, but you also can directly hear from um, soul friends. I mean, I've heard from friends way, way back. I've been reconnecting with primary school friends, which has been really unique because this is the anniversary of my father's passing. Yesterday it was. So this is the third year. But it was a lot of people all the way back to, and a lot of memories have been coming up. So especially because we've got Neptune retrograde, it's very 4D. We can be going back in the ethers and we can be really thinking about our past, our childhood, lineage, dreams, reality-based situations. It's really eye-opening. And it was funny because my father being a European man, we did come from a very strict upbringing. I remember I was telling Alice in Wonderland relating to this story to do with my father. And there was a bike that we had in Europe, and I remember coming from a European family thinking, my dad was really strict. And I remember thinking back to this bike, and it was quite a large one. It was an old war bike, and I was holding it up, and I was so smitten with it. I was like, Dad, I want this bike. And he goes, instead of saying to me, that's not appropriate, you're a girl, old school traditional hierarchy, so to speak. It just dawned on me the other day. He was like, it's too heavy for you. You need something lighter. And I was like, God, my dad was a new age guy. But there's flashbacks at the moment relating to the astro. It's Mercury, so we're tuning into the happier days, But don't lie to yourselves, guys. It, yes, there were good days. Yes, there were hard days. It's only because we have attachment and we're afraid and we're thinking, God, we're so bloody tired. There better be a good bloody day over that hill. Do we really want to climb up another bloody hill? It's perfectly natural. We're tired. We're fed up of the last 5 years, quite frankly. It's like, shit. Not the last 2 years, the last 5 to 10 years, really kicking off from, I'd say 2012 and beyond. Probably 2002, if we want to be perfectly honest. My twin flame, really. Step back, honor it. Usually when they block you, it's that they're scared what they're going to do, but it's also to move you back into run a chaser mode, and sod that. You're like, okay then, go grab a cuppa and enjoy. I just sit back and relax, but it's usually because they're like, I'm angry at you. And it's like, let's get out of the schoolyard, guys, okay? We're out of the schoolyard. Let's divorce the notion of schoolyard antics and not intercept. As I said to a client today, in this in the separation, you know, sometimes there's sharing of clothing and there's things like that. And I said to her, it doesn't mean it's over. You know, even in divorces, they say up to a year to 2 years later, you can have a reconciliation. So, you know, our psychology tells us, oh my gosh, because I'm not hearing from this person, it's over. And if you do look back at your history, 9 times out of 10, that's not bloody true. And, you know, it's the same as when you're raising children, and it's not got to do with anything, how can I put it? And I'm not trying to be condescending by any means, but it's training and educating. We teach people how to treat us. Now, if we have been used to one way of behaviour and we're exhibiting another way of behaviour, it's going to change the pattern, but initially it's going to cause a little bit of angst, and that's on both sides. But the pattern can be broken. With And yeah, narcissistic energy, that's a different kettle of fish. But again, sometimes it can be behavioural due to substance, so it depends on the situation. I've deleted mine from all media years ago because I couldn't handle the way he was using it towards me. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. You know when it's right to actually disconnect. Yeah, sometimes they do actually exhibit that energy, but usually it can be. It depends on the circumstance, Dal. Sometimes, you know, we can really want to compartmentalize and bracket things, and especially with all the years of me coaching other twins as well as my own path, the one thing I have noticed in a synchronistic pattern, especially with the ones that have reconciled that I've been coaching, is the behavior that was exhibited. Some people would have tagged it as narcissist. Others, it would have been, yeah, similar to what you're saying. But the thing is, when it is behavioral and it could be due to maybe a substance or something to that degree, um, as we have Sagittarius, the eclipse in Sagittarius, you're going to find it's a lot to do with their spirituality, a lot to do with their psychology. So many of those things in a soul growth energy and their awakening, it is like the phoenix rising between now and next month. Things will move very quickly, but the behavior, once they do that shadow work, plus with the Neptune transits, especially next year, Jupiter and Neptune and Pisces, oh God help me, that's where you're going to get your detox. Sounds like twin flame connection's pretty intense. Yeah, it is pretty intense. There's a lot of healing. I do recall in 2017-18, a lot of us here on Yildiz readings we were purging. I was talking to my mother and I'm like, can you not feel that? And it was just generally, you know, it was the general energy I was picking up on, not just the twin flame path. um and my mum and my family were like, no. No. 2 years later, I said, oh, I psychically had a download and I said, something's going to happen at a collective level. Well, we know what that is. And that people would be forced to actually look at their shadows. Well, this is it, right? Now other people are feeling it. But yeah, the 2012 for people that aren't completely awoken is going to be quite difficult. But I think most of the TFs have actually gone through that phase, so yeah. Yes. Any questions while I'm here? Cord cutting doesn't work. You have a soul contract. Cord cutting actually makes it worse. You can, if you want to cord cut, Dull, what I can suggest is anyone in their circle, right? What you can do is you got to be pretty bloody grounded to do this. You need to think of any person that you had a falling out with, any person you had resent towards with, including karmics. You need to physically be able to make peace with them and cut them off the contract. But usually they're karmic, you directly chose, and you have a soul contract with the karmic because they're healing you as well. So in a prospective sense, you need to physically do a guided meditation. You can do the cord cutting energy, but you need to have the pure heart to do it. And when I say pure heart, you need to be at peace with it, that they have no power, that their contract with your twin flame and with you, you release them off that contract, and peace be them. So, and you let that go, and you literally go through every list. You might need to do it a few times, but then for the remainder of that week, have your shower, use your crystals to protect you, and just move into peace. And when I did that, that's when I moved into complete detachment, because I just wanted to release all the contracts from me. It's like, okay, you've served your purpose, I make peace with it. And then on that side of the fence, when that's ready, that'll naturally happen. But it can actually reduce the stress levels, because sometimes you can actually accidentally channel the karmics. Yeah. So the cord cutting can intensify your purging. It'll intensify your ascension symptoms, and then from there it'll just, yeah, you'll mess you up. You can't cord cut. All it's going to do is accelerate your ascension symptoms. It'll make you purge quicker, and then you'll come to this grounded state, and you'll feel a little bit like, bunnies and dolphins and starfish, and you'll be like, I don't know why we were so angry. Because you purged an element of that pain body ego. Yeah. Oh, the good old days. Not right. Please, underneath this video after, if you guys did feel this resonates and what it incorporates in it, feel free to comment under the videos, because they're what actually pushes it through in the algorithm. The funny thing is, I have a very high watch rating, high retention time on video. The one thing that is not working on my channel is comments and likes, which is a crying shame, because it does directly affect the channel. You are right. We are I do not want to cord cut her. Yeah, we're going to be careful though, in both ways. Both with cord cutting and attachment, we can love, but we don't own. And if we have attachment, it kind of blocks it away from us. That's the problem. So with your clearing and your energy, the more we shift focus onto self, the more it comes into balance inside ourselves of a yin and yang. We can still have that heart-centered energy, but there is a point in the journey when the ascension increases, which is almost, you do need to completely tune out of them. It sounds crazy, but it is the only thing that does work, because that's the only way you can reach detachment. Yeah. 100%. It was the only thing I hadn't done. And as I was doing that, I would get the ascension coming in. I would still have the purity of love and feeling as a human being. But whenever the energy would come in, I would breathe in, breathe out, and I would tune into something else. And it did move it a lot quicker. How are you doing, Alice? The weird thing is that when I release myself, the more we... Exactly. Now, I have been coaching a lady over the last month, and she's doing fantastically. I'm super proud of her. A lot of the tips I've been giving her relating to how to deal with it to turn it about, they initially do feel quite unnatural, but she has each time moved into more success and more success. But also the funny thing is, when you're giving everything to a person, it comes across as needy. When you actually shift the energy, and I always say it's like being Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet. It's literally, when you have to chase, you're directly feeling you have to prove to that person. When you are sitting back and you're like, and it's not from a bitchy point of view, it's more, look, if you communicate with me, yeah, I'll get to it. I'll be straight to the point. It'll be short and sweet. I'm not going to give you too much information about what I'm doing because that's earned. Regardless of the connection you had with them, it's earned. And that's like base 1, base 2, base 3. You're going back to basics. You're starting from scratch effectively. You have to be willing to go back into that connection from scratch. It's going to be hard. I won't lie to you. Things are going to come back up. You'll have more tools to deal with it. And you'll have to keep checking yourself. But through this process that I've been coaching her with, she now is gaining movement, communication, and the person's vibration has completely done a 360. And it's almost like they're chasing her. And it is because of her attitude change and the way she's been handling it and approaching it. It's really important to, like I said, you have to be willing to lose it all. Getting there. Yeah, 100%. And look, sometimes we pick something not because of love, but because of codependency. Sometimes we pick something because it feels right, and sometimes we don't feel good enough for masculine or feminine. Um, different phases for each step. So did I. Yeah, it's the hard yards. And yet again, your comments actually help other people get tips. You guys can be the readers too, just by your conversation piece. No, you're always equal. Always say that's a fallacy. From my experience over the 20-something years, when I've looked back on the path, I actually realised when he was running, I was chasing him. But that meant I was running for myself. I was having to convince another person. Um, And then, when there were going to be breakups, I was ready to run too because I was overwhelmed. I was exhausted. Do you know what I mean? So, no, you're always matching. And that's why the tip I am giving this client at the moment is when you're saying something and it's coming out of your mouth and you're saying it directly relating to your counterpart, you need to turn that about and say that's what your fear is, because 9 times out of 10, that of what we're saying about the other person is either a fear, an attachment, or an expectation. And if we can just pause as we're speaking, we're going to actually see why that's coming up. And a lot of times when I do coaching, I can hear it through the way you're describing things, the way you're expressing it. A lot of times when we say, I need them to choose me, it's because you have attachment and you're physically feeling, you haven't completely gained all the confidence back yet. You're getting there, but you're kind of feeling, well, is this like a check that's going to bounce? And the thing is, life has millions of checks that bounce. Has it hurt you? No. You keep going. You keep going. Do you know what I mean? You go to plan B. So we really need to scrap that idea altogether and understand, even if they haven't done work psychologically, which is a fallacy, psychologically, you're physically thinking on your side of the fence, that means the relationship's going to be crappy. That's not true. Because if you have done the work, you won't enable a person. And so you'll only give so much. So you're completely protected. You're like, okay, well, I won't sleep with you, or I won't do things that I feel are wrong for me, or I'll take it slow. I'm going to attempt to communicate. We're going to work on that communication style. We're going to make it a safe space for both parties to feel safe and be vulnerable, but you can't expect another person to be vulnerable if you're not being vulnerable. I felt that I needed to put myself in a strong place for myself. Yeah, but there's no perfect time. There's no wrong time. There's no right time. Many times I get clients saying to me, I think I need to work on myself a little bit more. I don't think this is the right time. And any time's the right time. I mean, obviously, if you've had a nervous breakdown, I don't think so. But, you get my gist from an analogy point of view. It's just have the courage to have faith in yourself. There's a lady screaming at a dog. Hope she doesn't sing. I might get demonetized. Yeah. I just felt that I needed to put myself in a strong place. Yeah, having purpose is important. And um, I'm saying summer's years are going to get some communication coming in. You need to be prepared. Okay, so I'm coming on to give you some tips and tricks so you're semi-prepared. The hard part, if I'm perfectly honest with you, is within union, because you have to challenge the wound. If anything, I found when I reached reconciliation, I was the problem. And apparently, feminines were the ascended ones. Because you're fretting, you're thinking things are going to go back to the way they were before. And look, they could do. They could do, and you deal with that then. Mine didn't, but I didn't. I had to change as well. I had to change my approach, and I had changed. So because of that change, yes, the cause and effect you work, but yeah, you're human. You do have memories. You got triggers. You work through with them. Start again. Don't go into I messed it up. Go into, okay, how can I approach this next time differently? Every opportunity is a new opportunity. And that's really the way you got to look at it. See the error of a situation, look at the purpose, red traffic light. Okay, what do I want to get out of this? Am I wanting to, I'm angry or I'm passionate. Okay, where's that coming from? Is it a wound? Am I directly communicating with that person? Or is it that you're getting to a space where you are still reacting from the wound? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So the spiritual energy can be really difficult. Yeah, they are. It's all very personalized. So look, not obviously I'm not going to lie to you and say to you every human being on the planet is going to have success if you can't work through your wounds. No. It's important. We must do. And you have to be able to physically, stand in front of a person and have that open heart and brand new chapter. But unless you're ready to have that chapter and you're feeling safe and comfortable, how is that chapter going to become? And that's why we say it's important to do that shadow work and important to look at those wounds. It is frustrating and it's perfectly natural. Some of us can get a bit of PTSD from the ongoing saga of it, and it's totally understandable for you to get to the point you're feeling very disillusioned and angry. When you kind of break that cycle, that's when that chapter can turn a corner. But you do have to change the way you're directly relating to that chapter in order to have a different outcome and create those very firm boundaries. And you'll always notice, like, as much as sometimes we can say to ourselves, no, but I have changed. If you actually stop and look, there's something of a pattern there, 100% all the time. And if you can look at it, it's usually because we're so dirty at ourselves that we went and did another pattern again. And we're like, why did I do that? I knew I shouldn't have done that. But it's always going to be this way. No, it's not always going to be this way, because you ain't always going to be that way. I swear I can smell someone's cooking and it smells good. I've been eating lean cuisines and they're a bit lean. Any questions while I'm here? Otherwise, I'm going to love you and leave you. I just wanted to check in with all of you. The other video tomorrow morning, I will open it. And that is for, I think it's earth signs. I need to leave it in where the members are. Are there any requests for the videos? Any requests? Is there any special needs you have? That's okay, Adam. Yeah, don't assume, Leonix. It's a wound. It's like us having a temper tantrum. You just don't want to be with me. Just go, how do I know? But the good thing is, he's spending time with his child, and that's what you wanted. Oh, make me jealous. Come on already. It's only no, what I could smell was what we call in Europe It's burek, and it's basically, it's very similar to in India and there are lots of other cultures as well. It's basically a piece of flatbread. It's pastry and it's rolled out, and then they make a savory mix, and sometimes it's ricotta, and it's it can be ricotta and spinach, and it's got herbs in it. Sometimes it's, I think, no, it was feta cheese with spinach and herbs, and they roll it. Or sometimes it was savory mince with onions, and it was in a pastry. And the only reason I've been eating meat lately is because my iron's down. Otherwise, I'm pretty much vegan. But that's what it smells like. Like a pizza pocket. Request how to deal with the journey and third parties and how. Halloumi. I know how to make that. It is a Turkish dish, yeah. Yes. I remember my, yeah, börek. So I remember my sister saying to me one day, she goes, do you still cook Turkish food? I can cook many cuisines. And I was like, yeah. I like spice. I like flavour. So I cook multicultural food. Indian, Chinese, Turkish, Vietnamese. Yes. Vegetarian. Lots of vegetarian in those dishes too, I tell you. When I was in Europe for 3 years, meat was too expensive, and I didn't really. My dad hounded me with meat all my life, and I was like, I just want salad. So yes, I can go from one to the other side, but I can cook well with vegetarian. Is done on it going to have good flavour? It best be, because it's vegetarian. I had this spicy pizza the other day, and it's like a flaming Lamborghini, that thing, but they don't season it. Yeah, it's nice. So how to deal with not talking. Yeah, I know, right? There was one dish I had in Europe, and I did notice it on a channel the other day. I was started following, um, and it was a beautiful pastry dish. It was very like a light sponge, and it had it was almost like a cornflour custard, which a lot of the European foods, they predominantly didn't have creams and things like that. So a lot of their custards and their sweets were gelatin and things to that degree, because they didn't have the more westernized side of things. So this custard was, I believe it was made with semolina and corn flour. It's a very creamy, very light and fluffy custard, and it's rolled in a very thin sponge in a roll, and it's just divine. And I saw this on this recipe guide, and I was like, I miss that. I used to have it in Europe. I only had it 3 times, and it made a mark on my life. But yes, I can cook baklava and Turkish delight and all sorts of things. You can make me vegetarian enchiladas. I can make, oh yum, I can make vegetarian lasagna actually. I said to a friend of mine, I said, I can make vegetarian lasagna and you won't know it's got no meat in it. She said, I don't believe you. I made one and it was with tuna one time. And it was really hearty because I put a lot of, I cook things really slow, lots of spice. And here there she hates tuna as well. And she was eating away and she was like, this is beautiful. Yeah, I predominantly am, but at the moment I'm iron deficient, so I have to eat meat. I've got to boost my iron up at the minute. But there she was eating this, and I said to her, Dal, that's tuna. She screamed. No, it's not. And I was like, yeah, it is. Oh, boy. Gee, it was funny. I think she had a man-sized bowl of that tuna lasagna. But yeah, everyone swears by it. They're like, oh, I thought it had meat in it. And it's like, nope. My vegetarian lasagna is rich and hearty. Yes, I do love Theta. Anyway, how the heck? See, Mercury retrograde in Libra, we're thinking all the lovely things we could eat. All the Venus things. Meanwhile, I've been eating lean cuisines. I'm like, no, I need to eat healthy. Okay, beautifuls, take care. I will release the earth sign elements tomorrow morning. I need to leave the members with it, because I did have it up quite late, so apologies. And we are getting on to the next batch of videos, but I do have some clients' videos to do tomorrow. Okay, if you do want a booking, jump in and grab it while you can, because again, it is filling up very quickly at the minute. Tell me how this video relates. Please comment, it does help.